Here I was, just a pizza delivery guy, innocently delivering a pizza to a fancy house on a Friday night. Little did I know that Karen would accuse me of theft while I was doing my job and call the police. I wondered how it all came to this. Here's how it all went down. Alright, let me set the stage for you a bit more. You can refer to me as Alex for the duration of this little tale. So here's the lowdown. Imagine a dude in his 20s, consistently sporting that rugged, hasn't shaved in a few days look, and almost always wearing that unmistakable cap that screams pizza delivery. Yeah, that's me. Throughout my time delivering, I built up a pretty solid clientele. Honestly, I'd like to think a good chunk of the town had my number on speed dial when they were in the mood for a cheesy slice. But today, I want to take you back, rewind a little, and share an evening with you. It started just like any other, but man, thanks to a certain Karen, it took a twist that left me completely blindsided. It was Friday night and I had just pulled up to this super fancy house. The kind that makes you double-check the address because it feels more suited for a Hollywood movie than our town's pizza deliveries. Pristine lawn, white picket fence, even the darn bushes looked like they had a personal barber. I got the pizza from the back, grabbed the soda, and made my way up the driveway, glancing at my receipt a couple more times. Because honestly, it felt like a prank. I mean, why would anyone in this ritzy place order from our dinky pizza spot? The pathway was lit with those posh garden lights. Now, here's where things got weird. As I approached, I saw their door was slightly ajar, and there was an open window. My gut was like, dude, odd, but whatever, not your circus. I rang the doorbell, and while waiting, I got lost in the world of memes on my phone. A minute turned into 2, and then 3. Just as I was about to ring again or maybe knock, out of nowhere. Flash. I mean, seriously? Who uses Flash these days? Blinking away the spots from my eyes, I saw her. Karen looked like she'd just jumped out of one of those speak to the manager memes. Her phone was still pointed straight at me, with that classic gotcha look. Caught you! Karen exclaimed, her voice high-pitched and almost gleeful. Trying to rob us? Not on my watch. Dumbfounded, I lifted the pizza box and soda as if they were shields of reason. Hold up a sec! I'm just the pizza guy, see? Pepperoni and soda, no burglary tools here. Karen took a step closer, squinting at me suspiciously. Then explain the open window and door, Mr. Pizza Guy. I honestly have no idea. Maybe you forgot to close them? All I know is, I have a delivery, and someone here is probably getting really hungry. Before Karen could reply, a voice echoed from inside the house. Mom, did my pizza arrive? I've been waiting forever. Her face turned from defiant to slightly embarrassed, but Karen didn't let her guard down. Stay inside, honey, I'm handling the situation, Karen yelled back. It was clear I was dealing with a whole new level of Karen. As Karen dialed 911 with a speed that could only come from years of practice, I felt a mix of disbelief and annoyance. Look, lady, this is just a big misunderstanding, I tried to interject, holding the pizza and soda up like they were my last line of defense. Her voice had that shrill quality as Karen practically shouted into her phone, I've captured a burglar! He's here right now! I have photographic evidence! Karen waved her phone in my face. You picked the wrong house, buddy, I sighed, realizing this was escalating way faster than I'd ever imagined. Honestly, I just want to deliver this pizza and get to my next order, I muttered, half to myself. It felt like only seconds before the sound of sirens invaded the quiet street. The lights from the 2 approaching police cars refracted through the trees, creating this eerie strobe effect. A knot tightened in my stomach. All this over a pizza? Was this really happening? 2 officers jumped out, hands resting on their belts. What seems to be the problem here? The taller one asked, eyeing me suspiciously. Before I could answer, Karen with a triumphant grin declared, This man tried to break into my home. I caught him in the act, and I have pictures. Just as one officer motioned for me to turn around, presumably to cuff me, a frustrated voice boomed from the slightly open door. Mom, my game's on pause and my pizza's getting cold. The teen, with his tousled hair and a gaming headset hanging around his neck, looked from his mother to me, his expression a mix of annoyance and realization. I ordered that pizza. Why is this taking so long? Karen's confidence wavered for the first time. But the open door and window. The teenager rolled his eyes. I left them open because it was getting stuffy. Seriously, Mom, you need to chill. The officers, looking less tense but more amused, asked to see the proof of the pizza order. The teen, without missing a beat, showed them his order confirmation. See, large pepperoni with extra cheese, and that soda's mine. Karen's face went through various shades of red, looking like she'd bitten into a super spicy slice of pizza. But this wasn't about food. It was about her very public blunder. Karen, now looking more flustered than ever, shifted her weight from one foot to the other. I just wanted to keep the neighborhood safe, Karen mumbled, but it sounded more like someone grasping at straws than an actual apology. The officers pulled aside for a moment, and their conversation was punctuated with muffled chuckles. After a bit, Officer Daniels approached me, the corners of his eyes crinkling as he tried to suppress a grin. "Alex," he began, "I never thought I'd see the day where you'd be in the center of a scene like this." He gave a lighthearted shrug. "But hey, maybe take a different route for your deliveries for a bit, huh? Just to let things cool down." They gave a final nod to the teen and Karen and headed back to their patrol cars. As they drove off, I couldn't help but think that this was probably the most excitement they'd had in a while. The teenager shot his mom an exasperated look. "Can't believe you pulled the cops on the pizza guy, Mom. Seriously." Turning to me, he dug into his pocket, producing a generous wad of bills. "Here," he said, rolling his eyes at the house behind him, "for the unnecessary drama and, well, definitely cold pizza now." Driving away from that house, I couldn't help but chuckle to myself. I mean, who would have thought delivering a pizza would turn into a mini crime scene drama? It was moments like these that made the routine job interesting, reminding me that every house, every delivery had its own unique story. Life has its way of springing surprises on you, whether it's a camera-wielding Karen or a pizza-craving teen who saves the day. That night wasn't just about earning a hefty tip, it was a lesson in expecting the unexpected. So the next time you see a pizza delivery guy zipping around your neighborhood, just remember, there might be an epic tale behind that seemingly mundane delivery. Who knows, he might just be navigating through an adventure of his own. I can't believe that happened to the poor pizza delivery guy. Karen really took things to the next level. Glad it all got sorted out in the end. Also, the whole situation with the teenager and the cold pizza was just hilarious. Life's full of unexpected adventures, right? I never imagined that a simple decision to prioritize my own dreams would lead to a heartbreaking choice between family and self. As tensions rose and emotions ran high, I made a decision that would change everything. Here's how it all went down. The day I said I do to Sam, he was already well aware of a decision I had made long ago. "You know, I've never really seen myself becoming a mom," I had once admitted to him. It was during one of those cozy evening strolls we often took, where the world felt just a bit smaller and our bond grew a little stronger. He looked into my eyes, and with a reassuring squeeze of my hand, he said, "Hey, that's totally fine. We all have our paths." Years flew by, filled with memories of dates, movies, shared meals, and laughter. Then came the day I finally got to meet Leah, his daughter from his first marriage. Our introduction was a year after Sam and I became an item. I remember being a little nervous, wanting to make a good impression. As I approached their home, a vibrant young lady with a bright smile greeted me. "Hey there, I'm Leah," she said, her voice brimming with warmth and youthful enthusiasm. Getting to know her, I soon realized that her lively demeanor hid the pain of a tragic loss. Leah, even at 16, had experienced the heartbreak of losing her mom when she was just a kid, barely 10. Yet she carried herself with such grace and strength, traits that spoke volumes of her resilience and the loving upbringing by her dad, my Sam. From the very first conversation we shared, Leah and I found an immediate bond. Despite her young age, she exhibited a maturity that was well beyond her years, yet she still carried that playful spark and wide-eyed wonder characteristic of youth. I admired that about her. It was this balanced blend of old-soul wisdom and youthful energy that made our connection unique. Sam and I chose to take things slow, especially when it came to our living arrangements. We wanted Leah to have a sense of continuity and comfort in her home, especially after all she'd been through. So, it wasn't until she packed her bags and left for college, seeking out new adventures and experiences, that Sam and I finally decided to share a roof, ensuring Leah always had her own space to return to. You know, life can sometimes toss you a curveball when you least expect it. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was lounging around at home, lost in my thoughts when my phone buzzed with a call. I picked it up and heard Leah's familiar voice, though there was a different edge to it this time. By then, Leah had blossomed into this self-assured 25-year-old and had found her passion working with kids as a teacher. But now her voice quivered with an unusual blend of exhilaration and nervousness. "Hey, so, a big news?" She hesitated for a moment before blurting out, "I'm going to have a baby." The sheer thrill of her revelation was palpable, and I could virtually see her beaming with joy as she shared her news. However, life's winding path had another twist waiting for her. The guy she had imagined would be by her side through thick and thin, celebrating this news with her. Well, he didn't exactly see things the same way. Instead of standing with her, he chose to walk away, leaving Leah to juggle the happiness of her soon-to-be new role and the overwhelming realization that she might have to do it solo. As the days blended into weeks, it was crystal clear to me that she needed a strong, caring group around her. So, without a second thought, Sam and I threw our doors wide open, letting Leah know we'd stand by her, come what may. One quiet evening, as we were sharing stories and laughter around our dining table, I felt the need to address something that had been bothering me. "Hey Leah," I began cautiously, have you thought about, maybe getting him to help out financially with the baby? She looked up, determination evident in her eyes. I've thought about it, but honestly, I don't want his money. I've got this. Leah's fantasy of motherhood quickly collided with reality. From sleepless nights to endless diapers, the toll of parenting became evident. With Sam assisting Leah, I found myself managing most of the house chores. I didn't mind, but it was evident Leah was overwhelmed. The day her maternity leave was ending, she confronted us, exhaustion evident in her eyes. I can't leave my baby at a daycare. I can't afford a nanny. Mom! She looked at me, her voice desperate. Can you help? I took a deep breath, trying to choose my words wisely. Leah, I love you, but I can't be a stay-at-home grandma. I have my work and I never envisioned this for myself. Sam tried to mediate. Maybe we can find a way. Can't you consider it for Leah's sake? I replied, why can't she stay home? It's her child. Leah's voice broke, tears streaming down. I need something more in my life. I'm always tired. I need to work. I need a break. The tension was palpable. Leah, I said, what about hiring a nanny? She shook her head. I don't want a stranger looking after my child. The pressure mounted on me, both from Leah and Sam. But one evening, Leah's words cut deep. I wish Mom was here. She'd understand. You don't care about me. I felt cornered, hurt, and isolated. With my husband also visibly upset, I couldn't help but wonder, am I the jerk for wanting to live my life on my terms? After a tense silence that followed Leah's revelation about her lingering love, I finally said, you can't live on what-ifs, Leah. Hoping he'll come back is not a plan. Sam interjected, that's her choice, and she deserves our support. I sighed, frustrated. Supporting doesn't mean neglecting our own lives and needs. It means guiding her to make sustainable decisions. Look at us, Sam. You've put all your money into this house and her education, and now into the baby. What about our future? I'm trying to be there for her. His voice was laced with emotion, and he added, you wouldn't understand. She's my daughter. I get that she's your daughter, but she's also an adult, Sam. This is her life and her child. She needs to step up, and you need to let her. Our talks with Leah only left me more exasperated. Her refusals on every feasible option made me question if this was really about the baby or about escaping her own responsibilities. Her insistence on the family love reasoning felt like emotional manipulation. Sam, however, was ever the protective father. I just want to provide for my family. I want my daughter and grandchild to be safe and comfortable. You've done that, I said, voice trembling. But I can't sacrifice my life and my dreams for Leah's choices. And then Sam dropped the bomb. You don't need to save right now. Once the baby starts school, you can get back to work. I was floored. So, you're saying I pause my life for 4 or 5 years and then just pick up where I left off? That's not how life works. In that moment, I realized there would be no middle ground. The house that was never truly mine felt even more alien. I packed my bags, every movement echoing the finality of the decision. As I stood by the door, Leah's voice cracked. You're just going to leave? I have to, Leah. I need to live my life too. Sam looked defeated. You're abandoning us. No, I replied softly. I'm choosing myself. As the car drove away, the weight in my chest began to lift. The calls and messages from Sam and Leah flooded in, each more accusatory than the last. But I knew, deep down, I was doing what was right for me. It was time to rebuild, rediscover, and relive my life on my terms. It's important to remember that everyone's circumstances and priorities are unique. Both individuals should be able to make decisions that align with their personal goals and desires without judgment. Parenting responsibilities are complex, and it's essential to approach these discussions with empathy and understanding for all parties involved. I never expected my peaceful mornings to be shattered by a frantic knock on my door. Little did I know that opening that door would thrust me into a chaotic situation I never asked for. This is the story of how a simple favor for my new neighbor turned into a battle for the safety of an innocent child. Here's how it all went down. I lived a pretty quiet life in a small apartment complex. The walls were thin, and you could occasionally hear a baby crying or the muffled sounds of a TV, but for the most part, neighbors kept to themselves. I had a few health challenges that sometimes required the use of a motorized wheelchair, but on better days, I used a cane. Most mornings, before the hustle and bustle began, I'd enjoy the solitude, sip on my coffee, and cherish the peace. A few weeks ago, a new neighbor moved in next door. Her name was Karen, and she had a daughter, SK, who was about 5. Our interactions had been brief. The standard nods in the hallway, quick hellos, and 1 or 2 short conversations. But that was about to change, turning my once peaceful mornings into something entirely unexpected. I was enjoying one of those rare mornings where I could just chill and be in my own space. A cup of coffee, a good book, and the comforting embrace of my sofa made it the perfect recipe for relaxation. Just as I was settling into my little bubble, there was a loud, insistent knock on the door. Who could it be at this hour? Swinging the door open, I was met with the sight of my new neighbor, Karen. She was accompanied by a cute little girl, SK, who looked to be around 5. She had a small backpack hanging from her shoulders, looking as if it held all her worldly possessions. "Hi there," Karen began, a clear hint of desperation in her tone. "Sorry to bother you like this, but I'm in a bit of a bind. Would you mind watching SK for a couple of hours? I promise I won't be long." I hesitated, caught off guard. Kids and I, well, we didn't exactly mix well. I mean, apart from the general awkwardness, my health issues made things a tad complicated. On some days, I had to use a motorized wheelchair, and my girlfriend was usually my lifeline on others. Watching a kid amidst all that felt like a stretch. "I'm really sorry, Karen," I said, attempting to sound apologetic yet firm. "But I don't think it's safe for SK here. I've got a lot on my plate right now, especially with my health." Her face instantly contorted into a mix of disbelief and anger. "Oh, come on," she snapped, taking a step closer. "I've seen you walking around just fine, and if you refuse, I'll make sure to report you to Centerlink." Stung, I shot back. "I don't get any benefits from Centerlink, and it's really not okay to threaten someone like that. Please find another solution." And with that, I closed the door, hoping to shut out any further drama. But life had other plans. A few moments later, a softer, more timid knock reached my ears. I opened the door to find SK, her big eyes filled with tears, looking utterly lost. "Mommy said I should stay here," she murmured, her voice so soft it was almost inaudible. Now, while I'm no expert with kids, seeing her so vulnerable pulled at my heartstrings. I couldn't possibly leave her out there. With a sigh, I opened the door wider. "All right, kiddo, come on in. How about some snacks and your favorite cartoon?" And just like that, my plans for a quiet morning went out the window. While she was distracted, I picked up my phone and dialed the police. "My neighbor. She's gone and left her daughter with me," I explained, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. The officers who showed up listened intently. They were professional, kind, and understanding, but I could tell from their expressions that they'd seen situations like this before. It's disheartening to think that this might be common. As they spoke to SK, they were gentle, making sure she knew she wasn't the one in trouble. Later, when I heard her dad was on the case and aiming for full custody, I couldn't help but feel a small victory. Maybe, after everything, there would be some good to come out of this mess. To my relief, they took SK, assuring her she was safe. Later, I found out her father was seeking full custody, a silver lining in this chaotic morning. The following morning, I was jolted from my routine by a knock. My heart raced for a moment, memories of the previous day's chaos fresh in my mind. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door to find SK's father standing there, SK tightly clinging to his leg. The tension in my shoulders eased. His presence felt different, less confrontational. "Hey, I wanted to apologize for everything yesterday," he said, his voice filled with genuine regret. SK looked up at me, her big eyes still a little unsure, but she gave a tiny smile. She insisted on coming along to say thanks. Spending a few minutes with them, the bond between father and daughter was evident. They shared looks and had an unspoken understanding. The more he talked about their situation, the custody struggles, and the many times Karen had let them down, the more I felt for them both. It was comforting to know that amidst all the madness, SK had someone who truly had her back. As we talked, I burst into laughter when he let slip Karen's ridiculous motive behind her antics. A nail appointment of all things. I shook my head, half expecting to be told this was all some elaborate joke. It sounded so outlandish. It was hard to believe someone would prioritize something so trivial over their child. He ran a hand through his hair, looking equal parts frustrated and amazed. "You know," he started, pausing as he chose his words, "every time she wants to shirk off responsibility, she hides behind this me time banner. As if that phrase magically makes it okay to just forget about her daughter." He looked at SK with a softness in his eyes, clearly pained by the thought of her being treated as anything less than precious. In that brief encounter, it felt like a lifetime's worth of understanding passed between us. Amidst the chaos instigated by Karen's unpredictable actions, it was clear that both of us wanted nothing more than to ensure SK's well-being. The gentle determination in his eyes and the gratitude in mine said more than words ever could. When he hesitantly broached the topic of his custody battle and asked for my support, I didn't even need a moment to think. "Absolutely," I assured him. "Anything to ensure that SK has a stable and loving environment." As they walked away, SK's tiny hand enveloped in her father's, I was left with a mix of emotions. A part of me was hopeful for SK's future, but another part couldn't help but be skeptical about Karen. Would this incident serve as a wake-up call for her, or would she remain entrenched in her typical Karen ways? Only time would tell. In the meantime, I found myself anticipating any news, eager to share the next chapter of this unexpected saga. This is also common in the US. Unfortunately, the police often struggle to handle these situations effectively. Many times, they refuse to contact Child Protective Services, CPS, and attempt to handle the situation on their own, thereby putting the children back in danger. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now, or you're definitely the jerk.